Now, following the announcement of the Nobel Peace Prize winners, the Yazidi community and their suffering have made it back into our news cycle. Before we speak about the impact this prize might have on that community, let's break down some key facts about the Yazidi people. The Yazidis are one of the oldest ethno-religious groups in the Middle East. Prior to the rise of Islamic State, they had a population of approximately 700,000, mostly concentrated in northern Iraq.
Well, in the summer of 2014, IS launched a campaign of mass murder, enslavement, and forcible conversion against the Yazidis. Many international bodies, including the United Nations, refer to the event as a genocide. As of June 2016, over 3,200 Yazidi women and children were being held captive by IS, and thousands of Yazidi men and boys missing. Now, one Israeli lawmaker has made it her mission to have the Yazidi massacre at the hands of IS officially recognized as a genocide by the Israeli parliament. Ksenia Svetlova of the Zionist Union Party, and she joins us now from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us, what kind of beacon of hope is Nadia for the Yazidi people?
Well, first of all, it's a very exciting day. And it's a very emotional day because after everything Nadia has been through and after serving for years as a voice, the voice of the Yazidi victims who survived the massacre, the genocide, she is also the voice of not only the Yazidis, but of all women in the world who has been enslaved, who has been sold, sold on the markets of slaves. And these things happens until this very day in Syria, in Iraq, and in other places. So I think that she represents now a very powerful voice of somebody who is not afraid. She is not afraid to speak about the atrocities. She is not afraid to speak out her story and also to try to gain support of the international community, which is not an easy thing to do, in order that the genocide of the Yazidis will be recognized by the world.
Well, Nadia, that's Nadia as a symbol, but you met her here in Israel. You hosted her in the Israeli parliament. Tell us your impressions of her as a person, one of the youngest people ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, she struck me as an incredibly strong personality. It was quite clear that she's still living her trauma, the tremendous trauma of losing almost all of her family, living as a slave, being sold in a slave market, and being subject to horrible abuse, rape on the daily basis for more than a few months. It was clear that she's coping with an immense difficulty when speaking about everything that she went through. And about the many thousands of Yazidi women who are still being enslaved. At that moment, they were still, most of them, they were still in this very miserable condition. And it was clear that it's painful for her, you know, so for her to overcome her traditional upbringing, the education that she received that actually forbids to talk about these things, like in any, Middle Eastern society. I think that it alone already makes her a hero, so I was very proud. I think it's a privilege for us in the Israeli Knesset to, host her, to hear her story. But now it's up to us not only to hear and to recognize her suffering and to celebrate her victory. Now it's up to us to actually act. After she visited Israel, I wrote a bill that suggests recognition by Israeli state of the genocide of the Yazidi people. At that moment, I was unable to gain support of the government, which is essential that this bill will go through the, the free readings in the Knesset. I'm very much hopeful that now we're just 2 weeks short from the launching of the new session of the Knesset, the winter session. I will bring this bill to voting, and I'm very much hopeful that the tremendous victory of Nadia Murad and celebrating her Nobel Prize will also have an impact on the Israeli politicians that will have to, just recognize something that you cannot deny. There are people who were persecuted, who were murdered, who were raped just for being Yazidis. We as Israelis, as Jews, we have a moral duty. We have a moral duty to recognize it and to try to help as much as we can to these people who are still living this horrific trauma of, dissolution, of murder, of losing their relatives, of sexual violence.
Ksenia, I want to also bring in what is happening right now on the Gaza border. We've seen a lot of violence on the border today. What is the reaction coming from the Israeli government?
Well, it's quite clear that Hamas that is being now very upset by the negotiations through the Egyptian side that are being actually stuck now for a few weeks. And I know that the head of the Egyptian intelligence service just left Gaza a few days ago. And there is no breakthrough. There is no breakthrough because Hamas actually thought that they would have the whole deal. And the Israeli government, in my opinion, they are responsible for this kind of illusion that the state of Israel eventually might strike a deal with Hamas, a terrorist organization that does not recognize our mere existence, that is burning our fields and trying on a daily basis to kill our people. So after this illusion will go away, we will have to deal with a very grave situation in Gaza Strip. It's not going to be resolved by itself. We need all of the support that we can gain from the international community, from the Arab states, to be involved, to bring back the Palestinian autonomy into Gaza Strip, and to basically work towards the disarmament of Gaza Strip, and at the same time help to avoid the humanitarian catastrophe.
Ksenia, members of your own party, for example, Tzipi Livni, have been in dialogue with Mahmoud Abbas. It doesn't look like he's playing a particularly helpful role at this moment in terms of the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. Do you think that those Israeli politicians still speaking with him have to press him on this?
First of all, I think that Tzipi Livni, who is a leader of my party, is absolutely right. We have to meet with Abbas. We have to keep in touch, with him and with his people, even if there is no breakthrough now on the track of the, peace negotiations, where actually do not happen at the moment. I think that still, at the moment, he's the only power that is willing, to some degree, to get back to Gaza and to take control. However, there are prices involved. It's quite clear that Abbas will not be going into Gaza if he and his party will not be receiving something that they can present to the Palestinian people in the West Bank, whether it's resumption of the negotiations, whether it's the trust-building steps that basically Netanyahu is avoiding them for a few years, like allowing building in Kalkilia and other things. So it's all interconnected. You cannot just deal with the humanitarian situation with Gaza if you don't deal with the political circumstances.
Okay, Ksenia Svetlova of the Zionist Union Party,